Welcome to GCSAA TV. I'm Jeff Bolig. We're here with Pat Williams, the keynote speaker at Thursday's general session at the Golf Industry Show. Pat, many assets to a successful organization, but certainly leadership appears to be the one you've talked about. Tell us about how important leadership is for any organization.
Well, I think everything rises and falls on leadership, Jeff. It always has and it always will. And any organization that has made progress or had great success over the years, you can always trace it back to the leadership, team or individual. So leadership is an important topic in our country now, maybe more than ever. It's being taught in schools. You can go get degrees in leadership at colleges. I mean, it's big business, but at the end of the day, everybody's a leader.
So are you of the belief that leaders are born or are they nurtured?
Well, I've studied that. I wrote a book a few years ago called Coaching Your Kids to Be Leaders. And I asked about 850 leaders, or leaders born or made, and about 85% said that they are made, which was encouraging to me. So I think leadership, we're born with certain gifts and talents, but I think at the end of the day, we can always learn how to do it. We can always be better at it. So good leaders are good learners, and they're always working to improve. They want to study other leaders. They want to figure out what it takes to be a good leader. They're never satisfied with their leadership abilities. They're always working to improve. I think that's really the hallmark of good leaders.
For those individuals who don't go to school to become leaders or don't have a lot of time, it appears that you've gained a lot of your information and leadership expertise by talking to people, other leaders. Mm-hmm. Is that something we can do in our everyday walk of life, is identify with those individuals? I
do that. You know, I generally in regards to my speaking and writing, but if I see somebody that a former NFL player, an NBA player, or Major League Baseball player, I'll ask them, what was Sparky Anderson's greatest strength as a leader? Or what did you learn about leadership from Bear Bryant? Or why was Tom Landry a good leader? I mean, I'll ask those questions because, first of all, those are fascinating leaders, and I'm sitting right there with somebody that knew them. And so when those moments come, don't waste them. That's my advice. Don't let those moments slip by.
Great. You have a new book out. You talked with John Wooden before his passing. You wrote about him. What made John Wooden such a great leader?
Oh, that's such a good question. He was a remarkable man. It has to be his character. You know, he lived his life above reproach. He was strong. He was tough when he had to be. He was a great teacher. Probably never been a better teacher. But I think at the end of the day, he was not a perfect man. But boy, he was close.
And he was attentive to detail. I know one of the first things he taught his players was how to put on their socks, yes. I believe.
Yeah. Didn't want them to get wrinkles, which would produce blisters.
Great.
But as far as honesty and integrity and taking responsibility, I mean, Coach was a model of character. And I think that's why he's so admired to this day, always will be. He lived his life the right way.
Another thing you talk about is being a lifelong learner, and you say one of the ways you can do that is be a reader. What would you offer to people who are busy with their daily lives, have the phones right there all the time? Take time to read, you said. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, your mind is a muscle, and it needs to be exercised. You know, that cranial muscle, it's about 2.5 pounds, but without exercise, it shrivels up and becomes non-effective. And I think the best way to stretch and work out that muscle is to attach a book to it. Nothing wrong with all the modern conveniences and all the doodads we have, you know, nothing wrong with that. But reading really challenges your mind. So I encourage everybody in my talk here, you pick the books. Never pick up your book you're not interested in. They're not assigned. The good news is you read in your field, read where you're interested in. And if you read 5 books on any one topic, you'll be a world-leading authority on that topic. I mean, that's interesting stuff. And so I think if, hopefully out of this meeting, if the leaders here get excited about reading, I think we've accomplished something.
We had a lot of golfers at the Golf Industry Show, people in the profession. One thing they're always asked, if you could name your dream foursome to play golf with, who would it be? So if Pat Williams is in a foursome to play golf, he can play golf with any 3 other individuals, who would they be?
That's great. Well, you'd have to have Charles Barkley in there.
Okay.
You know, if nothing else, entertainment. George W. Bush, because he plays fast.
Yeah.
You know, he plays that aerobic golf, so we wouldn't be out there all day. And then, who else would we want in the golf business? How about Billy Graham in his prime? You know, Dr. Graham loved to play golf. Loved to play golf.
Great.
Now that would be a fascinating group.
That would be interesting.
We'd have I would be there with Billy Graham in his prime, Charles Barkley, and George W. Bush. Oh my goodness!
Great.
What a foursome we'd have.
That'd be great. Great. Well, Pat, thanks for joining us today. It was a very inspirational talk, and we appreciate your time.
Good to
You've been
see you,
watching.
Jeff.
Great. You've been watching GCSAA TV.